Done with your rough draft, you're ready for the revising process. Revision includes adding, removing, moving, or substituting writing. So the process is going to look like this. You need to start small, focusing on only one paragraph at a time. First, you're going to evaluate the content, what is being said. Then you're going to evaluate the writing, how it is being said. So here's a little comic that I thought was kind of funny that might show the reality of revision. You can pause it and read it if you are interested. Starting small, one paragraph at a time. It really is important to hone in on small bits of your paper so that you can really give it the proper time and care. Don't skimp this process by being too broad focused and just applying this to your general paper, or else your revisions won't be as deep as they need to be. Evaluating the content, considering what is being said. The first thing we're going to talk about is relevancy. If something is relevant, then you keep it. If it is irrelevant, then you cut it. You need to remind yourself of the purpose and audience of this piece every time you evaluate your writing. Does this fit the purpose of the piece, and does it fit the audience? You need to rid your paper of everything that doesn't move the argument forward. If it's not moving the argument forward, cut it out. And then you're going to consider the topic of each paragraph. Does what you're writing fit with that paragraph, or does it seem off topic for that paragraph? So who's the audience for this piece, and what's the purpose of this piece? Well, the purpose, remember, is that it's an argument for why your charity deserves support. So if there's anything in there that doesn't pertain to why your charity deserves support, you can cut it right out of your essay. The audience is obviously hardworking people who want more information about the charity in order to determine whether to donate. These people are hardworking. They really want their money to go to the right place. So they're looking to read an essay about all of the reasons why your charity deserves support. They don't need anything other than that. So asking yourself whether it moves your argument forward. You've got to start trimming the fat, start making cuts, and this hurts. It is painful, but writers know that making cuts actually makes their writing better in the end. So if I take a look at this intro paragraph, a lot of this is starting, especially right here, going all the way to the end, is just tons of information about the history of this Garrett Peterson and how he grew up in a struggling household and they lost their own home. And so now he wants to help the homeless and he wants to focus on pets because of his own pet Fluffington. Is all of that relevant to why your charity deserves support? Probably everything that has been crossed out here needs to be deleted. We just need to know when your charity started and maybe 2014 was a record-breaking year. 2 sentences or so about your history is enough. Yes, you've probably spent tons of time trying to paraphrase this and use direct quotes, and it hurts to cut it, but it is going to make your writing better. Okay? Not just in your intro paragraph, but also in other paragraphs, such as your financial paragraph. Ask yourself these questions. Do you really need to report the exact amount of money that your charity made last year? How about the tax info? Is that even relevant to what we're talking about? Is it important to give your readers all kinds of big numbers that they likely won't understand or care about? And the answer to all of those is no. None of that is relevant to why we should give your charity donations, so we should probably cut those out of our financial paragraphs. It's irrelevant. Also on the topic of relevancy is asking yourself whether what you've written matches the topic of that particular paragraph. If it doesn't seem to fit, you can move it to a different part of your paper or remove it completely. Here's a quick example. The topic sentence for this paragraph is that Possibilities is a no-kill shelter. But then take a look at this sentence. I'm talking about no-kill stuff, and then I add in this little bit about how they have an outstanding rating on Charity Navigator, 4 out of 4 stars. That doesn't seem relevant to what I'm really supposed to be writing about in this paragraph, so bye, Felicia. Out. It needs to go. Excuse me. Repetition is the next thing we need to talk about. Obviously, some types of repetition are necessary and appropriate. And technically, you are using some repetition in this paper because you're reminding your readers over and over of your thesis, which is that your charity is worthy of support. But some repetition is due to sloppy, lazy revision or a misunderstanding of what is needed in the piece. You need to ask yourself whether you've already made the point. If you've already used a piece of evidence to make your point, using it again and recycling it like that just implies that you have a weak argument, and it also might confuse your readers. So taking a look at this, and if you want to pause the video to actually read this more carefully, you can. But I say right here that they spend 92% of their money on their cause. And then I say, well, this means that the grand majority of their money is being put to good use. And then I just start repeating myself. Most of your money is spent on this. Over 90% is put to good use. Only 8% isn't put to good use. Like, that's just, you're just repeating yourself. The only thing that needs to stay in terms of the facts listed here is what's in yellow. All of the rest of this stuff is just redundant. It's not strengthening your argument. It's actually making it seem weaker. So you can cut it, even though it makes your paragraph shorter. So now we're to the next part, which is evaluating the writing. Consider how it is being said. The one thing we want you to focus on is providing variety, and that goes for sentence structure variety as well as wording variety. So let's look at wording. You're going to be repeating your charity's name a lot, and that's just unavoidable. But there are other ways of saying your charity's name. Instead of using the name over and over, you can use words like it or they. You can use word phrases like this charity, the organization, the foundation. Sometimes I even say things like this effective charity. Changing it up just enough for your readers will help them be more interested. Don't forget to continue to use the actual charity's name some of the time, though. Sentence structure variety is also important. So, as you can see right here, I'm saying that Possibilities Humane Society of Greater Akron is the sole legal organization in all of Summit County that protects animals. They also rescue abused or neglected animals. I can probably tie these two sentences together in a sophisticated way that will help my writing to not seem so choppy. For example, I can change it to this. Okay? In all of Summit County that protects and rescues abused or neglected animals. Another example in this very paragraph are the last two sentences. They've existed almost 50 years. They had a record-breaking year. I've started this sentence, and this sentence all with the same word, they. And a lot of these sentences are short and choppy. A good writer knows when to use choppy sentences and when to tie their sentences together. In the almost 50 years that this charity has existed, 2014 was a record-breaking year. That is a little bit more sophisticated than what was there before, and that is what your readers need to see. Finally, talking about formal tone and voice, which we've learned about in class enough that I'm just going to fly right through this. Make sure you do not speak directly to your audience. Part of revising is catching those things and changing them. Avoid slang. Do not use a conversational tone. You've got to get rid of your contractions as well. Avoid any overly emotional language. You should include higher level academic vocabulary, things like harmful instead of the word bad. Okay, and then obviously do not include any personal anecdotes. All right, I'm going to leave you with this last little funny comic, and good luck with your revisions. And then you can pause on this screen and leave it open because these are the requirements of everything that I've just talked about that you need to now make sure is in every single paragraph. So use this screen to evaluate the first paragraph, and then use this screen to make changes to your next paragraph, and so on and so forth. So a summary of your revision requirements. Remove all information that is irrelevant. If it does not propel your argument forward, it has to be removed. If it does not seem to fit with the topic of the particular paragraph, it has to be moved or cut completely. So those are two separate things. Remove or change all information that is redundant. Remember, that just means if it has already been said, do not repeat it or recycle it. Vary your word choices, especially your charity's name. Vary your sentence structure patterns. So one way to do that is tying sentences together in a sophisticated way. Also, ensure that your sentences do not always start the same way. And then lastly, maintain formal voice. And that maintaining formal voice in and of itself has several requirements, so you might want to rewind to that screen. Thank you.